welcome to another episode of the Mad Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Begley, Goni, and Wayne.
What is up, Mad Mob? Week 1 in the books.
Let's go. Great week.
Week 1 in the books. A lot of craziness. A lot of trap games. A lot of head scratchers.
Ugliness, too.
Ugly.
Yeah.
Offenses did not start out very good, did they?
One of those rare things where the defenses were the stronger point in week 1.
Yeah,
as opposed to the O's.
Yeah, the defenses look great starting off. The offenses just look lackluster.
Unless you're Philly or Detroit.
That's it, though. Kansas City.
Yeah, I hope
Buffalo.
all did well this week in fantasy. Hope you all did well. A lot of you all, remember, it's just week 1. Don't panic if that dude didn't pan out for you. I know we had a lot of predictions, and most of them were correct. We had a few that are a little bit off, but week 1. It's week 1. Anything happens. A lot of these, and we're gonna go by on a game by game basis. Kind of tell y'all who showed out, who underperformed, a waiver wire ad from that game, if there is a waiver wire ad that we think would be good from that game. Just give you our thoughts on some of the guys that underperformed that we think are going to be okay, or that overperformed and we think maybe don't fully trust what's happening. But yeah, we're just going to take this a game by game basis and just break it down for you all. And it's time to get that mid-season management happening. But again, I don't recommend a whole lot of moves because it's just week 1. Let's not panic yet, people, if your guy isn't panning out. Of course, unless we call your guy out for sucking and planning on him sucking for a while. But let's start off with the Thursday night banger, which ended up being kind of less of a banger. Just the Bills absolutely showing off. Bills beating the Rams in LA 31-10. What are your all's thoughts on this game?
It was phenomenal for one side. Josh Allen showed that he's still the best quarterback in the league when it comes to fantasy. The guy was phenomenal. He led the team in rushing yards. He was great through the air. Stephon Diggs continuously roasted Jalen Ramsey, which was nice to see. And my boy Gabe Davis showed out and put up a touchdown. So, I mean, it looked good.
Yeah. Gabe did exactly what you said he'd do, man. I got to give you props. Is Jalen Ramsey an elite corner anymore? As he hit that downfall that all elite corners hit?
He might be on the downswing, man.
I got to see him against somebody else other than one of the top receivers in the league.
It is week 1, yeah. Let's not overreact on it. It didn't look promising for him, but let's see.
Yeah, it seems like the elite corners, more than any other position, just fall off a cliff extremely fast.
Hardest position in football, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
The game is set up for you to be unsuccessful.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm kind of like, for all you Devin Singletary owners, he was incredibly efficient, but just what we thought was going to happen, he's just not getting the ball. He had 6 yards per carry, but he only got the ball 8 times. I mean, it stinks, but I think that's going to be the type of season that we can expect out of Devin Singletary.
Yeah, I think in PPR leagues, I mean, Zach Moss, 6 targets.
6 receptions too, yeah.
Zach Moss might be the guy to have in pure PPR leagues, but, I mean, you're playing him only if you have to.
I don't know. That's another thing where I don't want to overreact on, man. I don't see Zach Moss getting 6, receptions a week or so. And Devin Singletary is just one of those guys, man. He's kind of like Miles Sanders, to where they just don't give him the ball. When he gets the ball, he's incredibly efficient. I expect the rushing attempts to go up as the season goes on. He's a guy that I've actually tried to go out and get while he's still cheap. He killed it, the last 5 games of the season. So he's kind of a wait and see guy for me personally.
Yeah, let's talk about Allen Robinson, man. How big of a disappointment was he?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and notch out the top tier. Stephon Diggs and Cooper Kupp are who we thought they were. Elite, phenomenal, and congratulations if you have them, because they're going to be that way all year. Yeah, man. A-Rob, dude. I know a lot of people had high hopes for him, hoping he'd go back to like the old Bears days, like this is the best quarterback. But man, like you kind of take a step back and like only 2 targets.
2 target. I mean, that's
He
that's
wouldn't
it.
even get looked at.
That's what hurts the most. That's absolutely what hurts the most right there is 2 targets. Like in your first game, like you said, brand new offense. You want to see more than that. Tyler Higbee got 11.
Tyler Higbee got 11. I guess I'll be the first to plug a possible waiver wire stash. Ben Skowronek, he got 6 targets. He was number 2 as far as the receivers go in targets. Obviously, he's a late round guy. If you don't have a very deep bench, he's not worth it. But if you have like a LaVisca Chenault or something sitting on your bench, he might be worth a replacement because the Rams offense will get it together. I think one of the biggest things that I saw from this game is how incredible the Bills defense is. The Rams are going to put up points this year, period. They're going to put up a lot of points. And if Skowronek is second receivers and targets, and if he can kind of keep that, obviously I don't think he'll be second every time. A-Rob's going to come up. A-Rob owners, don't panic. This is an incredible defense. I think he's going to be okay. Skowronek is kind of my first waiver wire plug, but that's a big iffy. I wouldn't, if you're on a fab situation, I don't put any money on him. Just keep an eye on him. What do y'all think about the Cam Akers situation? 3 carries for 0 yards.
I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so, man. I mean, guys,
You didn't tell me so. You're talking about your injury situation.
I'm talking to fans, man. Yeah, guys just don't come back from Achilles. Darrell Henderson, if he's on the waivers in your league, which he should not be.
He shouldn't.
He is your absolute number 1 waiver wire pickup this week, bar none. I mean, you want a piece of the Rams backfield. McVay uses bell cow backs. Guys are going to be an opportunity machine.
I literally sent a text. We have a little group text between us. The very first play they were on the field where I said Darrell Henderson starting because it's one of those things. Cam Akers was getting drafted. His ADP was him as the number 1. Goni, what do you make of it?
I mean, it's rough to see with the only 3 carries, no yards, but he was nursing a leg injury coming into this game. So I'm kind of curious as to whether or not the game plan might have been to not play him at all.
Okay, you're not fire selling yet. Okay.
Kyron Williams, he got hurt like immediately. So I think the game plan might have been, rest up Cam Akers a little bit. But if you see something like this next week, then full blown panic mode. It's already right now. You're kind of the alarm's going off a little bit, and you're like, oh no, what did I do? Why didn't I listen to Begley all off season? But let's hold out for one more week, see what the distribution looks like. Surely the Rams play better next week. They have the Falcons,
100%.
So we'll find out.
Yeah. Wayne, I got one more little positional to talk about here. The Bills slot receiver, right? Could be lucrative. Do you like Jameson or Isaiah McKenzie? Did one or the other doing enough to separate themselves in your eyes?
It's the Bills offense. I mean, it's definitely not going to hurt you to stash a piece of the Bills offense. But I think Josh Allen has his 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean they went 4 and 3 targets respectively. Right now it kind of just looks like they're going to split the slot snaps until I guess either someone emerges or maybe they'll just be content to rock with that for now.
I mean Isaiah McKenzie had all the hype. Jameson got quite a bit of work, all things considered.
Yeah, Jameson's a return man as well, so he typically misses the first play or 2.
Last little tidbit as well. Zach Moss and James Cook both fumbling. Terrible. Excellent news for Singletary owners as well. Just one little extra nudge there. Sorry, go ahead.
It up a little bit. Our next game, we got the Saints at the Falcons. A barn burner. Wasn't pretty, but we had a Jameis Winston comeback. Jameis Winston, 23 for 34. 269 yards and 2 tutties coming late. All my Michael Thomas guys, I want to get hyped for Michael Thomas. I was leading the Michael Thomas bandwagon. Hey, it was a very touchdown-dependent thing, and I know we got 2 of them. But if Jameis Winston's fourth quarter and second half of third quarter play transitions to a full game, he could be dangerous. But man, he looked ugly in the first half. So let's just hope that was just Jameis shaking some rust off. I think Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. This is one guy. This is one guy who I'm panicking after week 1, just because, if you all recall, Alvin Kamara is something that all three of us faded. And before, as we were doing our week 1 predictions, we said if there's a week that Alvin Kamara is going to be a stud, it's this one. And he was anything but a stud in this one.
Yeah, it was ugly, man. Like you said, I tip the cap to you on that, honestly, for Jameis Winston. He came back from a 16-point deficit in the fourth quarter. That's really when he turned it on. Michael Thomas, you like to see the 8 targets that he got. Jarvis Landry, man, 7 for 114 on 9 targets. He looked really good.
Looked very good.
Olave, little modest 3 for 41 jammy there. So, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much the Saints offense in a nutshell. Cordarrelle Patterson went ahead and showed out. Do you think that's something that's going to continue, boys?
I do. I mean,
22 for $120 and a touchdown.
Yeah, Damian Williams, he's got the rib injury. Algier was a healthy scratch. I'll tell you where he's at with Arthur Smith. Fire up your Cordarrelles for a few weeks.
Yeah, he's a guy that, like, for some reason just dropped off, and I'm not going to act like I wasn't part of that crew, but Cordarrelle looks like he did last year. Just great. And I hate to pivot back to the Saints here, but like as far as waiver wire goes, Taysom Hill rostered in only 4% of ESPN leagues, rushing for 81 yards and a touchdown, and tacking on a reception. Is Taysom Hill worth an and he's a tight end now. He's listed as a tight end now. Is he a waiver wire option that y'all are looking at? It looks like they're using him like they've always used him.
Yeah, I mean, he had the one big run. Outside of that, he really wasn't used. He was only on the field for 12 snaps, or 16 snaps, I'm sorry, and he blocked on 8 of them. So, but he is a bit of a Chico at the tight end spot. I mean, going with a little bit of game theory there.
Yeah, I mean, he could fill in for a couple plays at quarterback as well. That, to me, that's like a streaming option with upside kind of thing. Like I wouldn't necessarily hang my head on consistent, steady production like we got this week. He broke off a monster run. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see. You don't see any other tight ends in the game throwing passes or, running the football. So
I tell you who I'm not panicked about at all is Drake London. He looked good, gentlemen. He looked really good.
5
Drake
for
London,
74.
Yeah,
not a huge point output day, but he's obviously being looked at.
Yeah, he looked really well. I mean, Kyle Pitts had an awful day by Kyle Pitts standards. To your dynasty players who drafted
really
him
by
first.
any standards.
Yeah, 7 targets. I mean, so Mariota looked at him. He just didn't catch a lot of them.
Well, that's scary. And Marcus Mariota is another guy. I mean, he's putting up great numbers. He's still got legs. I mean, he rushed for 72 yards and a touchdown. For fantasy purposes, he put up pretty good points. But, I mean, I'm still not sold on really any Falcons receivers because he's just not that accurate. I mean, I know like 60-ish% completion percentage, but, I mean, for only 200 yards, we're talking 6 yards per attempt. I mean.
Yeah, I thought Desmond Ridder would take this job by middle of the year, but I mean, if Mariota's playing this way, it could be a super flex play all year, honestly.
Yeah, we'll see. I've got no ads personally for this game, gentlemen.
Okay. Moving on, we have a shocker. 49ers at Bears. The Bears took it 19-10. Let me say it before we dive into this Mad Mob. I don't know if you watched this game or just looked at the stats. It was an absolute downpour. They looked like they were playing under Niagara Falls. So I don't think, unless, spoiler alert, unless there's an injury that happened to you in this game, I'm not really hanging my hat on performances too much on this game just because it was such terrible conditions to do anything in. So yeah, we'll just jump into it. Goni, you want to give us some what you saw?
Yeah, like you said, man, it was monsooning out there. On Justin Fields, one of his touchdown passes, he literally slip and slid on the field for like 20 yards. I mean, personally, I liked Khalil Herbert's, efficiency in this game.
5 yards
9
per
for
rush.
45 and a touchdown.
Yep.
Montgomery had 17 carries and only put up 26 yards. I mean, you didn't really get a lot of production from either side. And, I mean, again, we're going to attribute that to the weather. I kind of give everyone a pass. But I was pretty impressed with the Niners overall. They had 176 yards on the ground, split amongst 5 guys, which is kind of, a good segue into the fact that Elijah Mitchell is going to be out for what's looking like 2 months right now with a sprained MCL.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm looking at Jeff Wilson he might be my top waiver priority this week if he's available in your league. He's looking like he's available in 29% of leagues on Sleeper and 83 on Yahoo. And then a late stash worth a possible flyer just because of the Niners offense. Jordan Mason. He played over Tyrion Davis-Price. Tyrion Davis-Price is inactive. Jordan Mason is an undrafted rookie, and he logged 5 snaps. So, I mean, he's available in 55% of leagues on Sleeper. He could get in the mix. You saw what happened last year with Mitchell kind of coming out of nowhere. So, never say never with the Niners.
Beggs, what'd you see, man?
Man, I was a little disappointed in Cole Kmet. He was the podcast unsung hero. 1 target. But again, this game is an asterisk, right? We're not going to judge any receivers, especially in this game. David Montgomery, man, and Jeff Wilson ran 31 routes. They only got 6 targets between them, which goes to show Fields and Lance and the running quarterbacks just don't check down. So I think Wilson has a lot more upside in standard and half-point PPR leagues, but he's still a must-add in all leagues. But Goni summed up everything, man. Jeff Wilson's the guy to get here.
Yeah. Don't panic, anybody. Darnell Mooney owners, don't panic. Cole Kmet owners, don't panic. Justin Fields completed 8 passes. I mean, he only attempted 17. Trey Lance had a terrible day. I know a lot of people drafted him with high upside. He didn't do much. This was just big asterisks. The only thing we can take away from this game is an Elijah Mitchell injury. And I agree with Goni's. Just snag Jeff Wilson. And probably his backup because 49ers running backs are cursed. So go ahead and Google the practice squad running backs for the 49ers and go ahead and snag some of them because they'll probably get some PT by the end of the year. But yeah,
Well
big
said.
asterisks on this game. Weather was just impossible to play in. It reminded me of that Patriots game where Mac Jones attempted like 3 passes all game.
Yeah.
The hurricane game.
Yeah. All right, next game. This was a good game. If you all missed this one, I recommend going back and watching it. It was a good game, fun game to watch. Steelers at Bengals. I had a blast watching this game, and I'm a fan of neither. I live the closest to Cincinnati, so it's pretty much, I watch the Bengals play my team, the Bucks, whenever they're there. I know last year Goni and I we had a game we went to where we just had a ton of fantasy players in it, so we just went to it to cheer our fantasy players on. Boys, this was a game right here. I mean, Najee Harris. I'm trying not to toot my own horn on some of these takes because it is week 1. So on the takes that I'm wrong with, I'm not bringing them up because it's week 1. So I'm not gonna say anything about Najee. But his day was saved by a goal line touchdown pass. Deontay Johnson, my boy DJ, didn't put up a great game numbers wise, but had 12 targets and a phenomenal catch. I don't know if y'all saw that sideline one-handed grab.
Yes.
Phenomenal catch. He led the receivers. I think the second most targets was 6. So he doubled the second most receivers targets. So he's getting looked at. He's going to be fine. Begley's boy, Freiermuth, led in receiving yards, buoyed by a 31-yard jammy, but that's still no problem. Mitch Trubisky didn't look terrible. Didn't look good, but he didn't look terrible.
He did enough to win.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all we can say right now. Joe Burrow might have played the worst game of his NFL career. 5 turnovers in total, 4 interceptions, and a lost fumble. And the man still had an opportunity to win. This game was a lot of fun to watch, but it was also one of the ugliest games I have watched in recent memory. We have
Overtime,
going
man.
into
Overtime was. Overtime
dude,
was.
doinks off the uprights. And you just feel really bad for the Steelers because they fear that TJ Watt has torn his pectoral muscle and it could be potentially season ending. So, I mean, that's rough for them. T. Higgins also left the game with a concussion. He's currently in the protocol.
You just never know with that.
If he can't go this week, yeah, if he can't go, it's Tyler Boyd is going to move up to the number 2 spot, and Mike Thomas, who actually wasn't too bad either, the other Mike Thomas, to the number 3 spot against the Cowboys this week. I don't know if necessarily either of them are worth streaming. I don't even know if they're out there. I'm sure Mike Thomas might be. Tyler Boyd would probably be your one to target if he's around and you need a guy. But, man, Najee should be good to go next week.
Jamar Chase did what Jamar Chase does. We don't really have to expand on him. He did Jamar Chase things. How do you feel about this Joe Mixon performance, Bex?
Man, Joe Mixon led all running backs in week 1 in terms of opportunity. He's kind of surprised, man. I thought he'd see the little carries to P. Ryan or Chris Evans, but it's still the Joe Mixon show.
One rush. P. Ryan, one rush.
Yeah. If you're in a redraft league and you need some help at running back, Joe Mixon's a guy who's going to get a lot of volume this year. Freiermuth, the original podcast MVP, was an absolute monster. You said it best. How about Hayden Hurst, though, for Cincinnati? Decent streaming tight end, got a lot of targets. He was helped because T. Higgins was out. Same for Tyler Boyd. But what really disappointed me was we knew Pittsburgh's offensive line was horrendous. But Cincinnati's, with all the money they spent on their line, did not look great.
Sacked 7 times. Joe Burrow was sacked 7 times this game.
Yeah, they allowed the 3rd most pressure in week 1. It just gross. I mean, Joe Mixon, even though he got a ton of volume, was not efficient with his volume. But, we'll see.
But we love volume.
Volume is king. I actually messed up. Mike Thomas. I was referring to Hayden Hurst, who had a good game as opposed to Mike Thomas. Mike Thomas only had 1.
I wasn't going to call you out on Mike Thomas's 1 reception for 5 yards, but I was like, okay.
Yeah, I think the verdict is Najee may be what we said he was. It might be time to think about trying to sell him while he's still got value.
I don't want to say it. Don't make me say I told you so on this one yet. Don't make me say it. I'm going to let another week because I'm not going to fall on the sword from some of my takes that are wrong. So I'm not going to toot my horn on Najee and Kamara yet. And this is one of those things too, and we're getting to this game. We'll get to it. I'll explain the point I was making when we get to the game. Our next game on the list was another good game to watch. A lot of offense. The Eagles beating the Lions 38-35. The poor Lions, man. They just lose close game after close game after close game. They cannot get over that hump. First thing that stuck out to me was, what's up, A.J. Brown?
A.J. Brown, dude.
Nuts. He went nuts. No touchdowns and went nuts. When you're not getting any touchdowns and you're still tier 1, sign me up for that guy. Jalen Hurts. Let's toot our horn on Jalen Hurts. We all called that. We called him a top 5 quarterback. And when you got a quarterback rushing for almost 100 yards and then throwing for over 200.
You know what's phenomenal about Jalen Hurts? And something that we were real big on, going back to the fact that he only threw 16 touchdown passes last year and finished so well. Jalen Hurts was the number 4 QB on the week, throwing no touchdowns. That's phenomenal. Didn't break 300 yards passing, but he was the number 4 quarterback this week. You gotta love that.
In the first half,
there's better games to come out of this man for sure. If he puts it together and he throws touchdown passes, he could absolutely. There's a pathway to him finishing as the QB1 if all things break right. I'm not saying that he will necessarily. I'm saying, but the pathway is absolutely there.
Yeah. What about Miles Sanders?
I was literally about to bring that up. I'm not sold. Not sold. Sorry, Miles Sanders owners that streamed him late and were excited after this good game. I'm not sold on him.
My favorite.
Listen, Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott got a rushing touchdown. They're still figuring it out in the backfield. I'm not sold on it. What do you think, Beggs?
Miles Sanders got 3 red zone touches this week, which was half of all he got last year. To me, I'm with you, Wayne. This is a clear regression. I mean, maybe they finally decided to give him the ball. I'm scared to death. I'd rather have Gainwell for the cost over Miles Sanders. Gainwell actually had almost as many opportunities if you factor in receptions as Miles Sanders did. So I like Gainwell. How about Jamal Williams being the goal line vulture?
Man,
I mean, had a chance.
Yeah, that's rough.
What a scab, dude.
That's rough, man. Like that, DeAndre Swift could have been the RB1 this week
by a million.
Yeah, by 1,000,003. Absolutely, that's just rough to see. Amon-Ra St. Brown. How about that man getting 12 targets? Everyone was kind of skeptical about him carrying over from last year, and Hawkinson's back and Swift is back. He's going to fade into irrelevancy. And he led the team in targets, led the team in receptions, yards, and he scored a tutty. Like we say, it's week 1. We'll wait to see what happens, but this was very encouraging to see if you have Amon-Ra St. Brown on your team.
You know what's discouraging is Devonta Smith, 2 targets. Wayne?
That's a rough one.
What do you think, Wayne? Is that a guy that's going to bounce back? Or, I mean, Detroit's pretty bad in the secondary.
Well, Devonta Smith had 4 targets, but he had no receptions. 0 points out of Devonta Smith. That was one guy I talked about late who I said I'm very curious to see. That's actually when we were doing this game preview. I said I'm really interested to see what Devonta Smith does. And nothing is the answer. I'm scared to death of Devonta Smith. I'm glad I don't have him on any of my teams. I don't want him on any of my teams. I'm sorry if you do have him, but the first decent game he has, fire sale.
Let's wait and see. Obviously, this is very discouraging to see that, but he got 4 targets. That's kind of rough. It's second on the team to Goddard and Gainwell. He tied them. A.J. Brown had 13 of them things. So let's put our hand on the panic button, but let's not press yet.
Yeah. The last point for me that I'm keeping an eye on is DJ Chark. I mean, he had a 15-point fantasy game in PPR.
Nice touchdown.
What this shows me, he was a little touchdown pin. What this shows me, though, is Jamal Williams, who's a stash in Dynasty. It seems like Jared Goff might be able to support 2 wide receivers on offense, plus Hawk, who had a decent game. I mean, he didn't set the world on fire, but 7.8.
We're on record saying Jared Goff is not terrible. He didn't play great. He had an 80 QBR, 21 of 37 for 215, but he's not terrible. And when you got people like D Swift and Jamal back there, you got to respect the run. So I think he'll have opportunities to really beef up his receivers. I think you're right.
Yeah. Just keep an eye on Jamal Williams. If you can get him cheap, man, in the dynasty, might be worth it.
The Eagles defense, the Eagles defense doesn't suck. And he dropped 35 on them. So I mean,
their front 7 doesn't suck. Their secondary is not so good.
Yeah.
I was trying to help him out, man. Trying to help out old Dan.
Fair enough.
All right, next game. Maybe we'll let Goni speak on this one a little bit. We got Patriots at Dolphins 7-20.
Gross.
Taking an absolute mollywhopping.
Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't fun to watch, man. We didn't look good at all. We're getting smacked, just pressured. Tyreek Hill obviously did his thing. Tua did a good job. I think Tua did a pretty good job given the circumstances. Tyreek Hill, 8 for 94, no touchdowns. Jalen Waddle broke free for a tutty himself. And, the defense just put down a lot of pressure, and they kind of handled the run game of the Patriots. It's really what the Patriots leaned on last year, and we were just kind of shut down. 7 points is no bueno. And either way, Dolphins beat us every year, man. This is common.
Yeah. Jacoby Myers still is the main target for the Patriots, it seems.
He is.
Just racks up targets. I was disappointed in Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, I know Ty Montgomery played, which is going to cap his ceiling, but we talked all about Ramondre's upside in receiving game. 2 targets, going. 2 catchable targets, I should say. My data is filtered by catchable targets. A little disappointed, but
he had 2 targets, 2 receptions, so they were catchable because he caught them.
Okay. The guy that I was actually most excited about was Chase Edmonds. I mean, he's clearly the receiving back in this offense. I weight my opportunities based on receptions versus carries, and he almost tripled Raheem Mostert's opportunities this game. So I'm trying to buy in on Chase Edmonds right now.
I'm not sold on Chase Edmonds. He was closer to doubling than tripling. 7 people logged a rush for the Dolphins in this game. I don't like that at all. He's solely dependent. I mean, he was extremely inefficient. 12 rushes for 25 yards. He's extremely pass dependent. But he did get 4 receptions. He was 3rd on the team in targets, and he turned every single target into a reception. So he's doing pretty decent there. I'm not sold on him to start him yet, just because he's getting he's not a good running back.
Well, no, but in PPR, 1 reception is equal to 10 yards of rushing, right? Which is a little skewed. So give me the receiving back in a PPR league all the time, and that seems to be what he is.
So you're gonna go out and get him? He's not a waiver wire guy. You want to go out and get him?
But he's a guy that I'm trying to get for cheap. I just feel like he's going to get at least 5 targets, possibly a week. You guys are Jalen Waddle owners. We talked about it a little bit off air.
Yep.
He had the nice play, the nice touchdown catch. Aside from that, wasn't really involved in the offense. Is it just a New England game script kind of thing? What's going on with Jalen Waddle?
He was 3 for 27, without the 42-yard touchdown reception that he broke away on. That's just something that's built into him, though, man. He's got the jets. He's got the burners. He can break a big play at any time. And, we've mentioned plenty of times last year he was just a PPR machine. He just short game, screens, just little things here and there. And this year I think we'll see more efficiency out of it. I don't necessarily think the targets break down to Tyreek getting 12 and Waddle only getting 5. So, on the weeks that you get 5, you're going to have to hope for these touchdowns. But as a wide receiver too, I like him. I'm confident going forward.
Wayne, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, it's his talent. It's not like it was like a Dante Pettis, Justin Fields rollout, chuck to him wide open type of situation. I mean,
1 for 51.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like it was a throw. It was a great catch, and he showed out his speed. I think it was a pure talent play that got him that big play, not a luck situation. I think 5 targets is a floor for Jalen Waddle. So I mean, even if he doesn't get the touchdown, I think in upcoming weeks, his target share increases.
Okay.
They got the Dolphins got a stud, man. They're going to show him off in week 1. They're going to show their fans this is what we paid for. This is what we got now.
Yes.
They don't have to do that every week.
And if you were worried about Tyreek Hill, don't be.
Looked great.
Also, Mac Jones is dealing with back spasms. He went and got an X-ray. They're negative. He has a chance to play this week. He might not if he can't go. Brian Hoyer gets the start. Devontae Parker had 1 reception for 9 yards, our shiny new playmaking toy that we got in the offseason. Yeah. No waiver wire ads anywhere. Don't play any Patriots next week.
Revenge game, and he let us down. Devontae Parker.
Revenge game. The Devontae Parker revenge
game. Speaking of revenge games, segue. Another revenge game where we were let down. Ravens beating the Jets. Joe Flacco couldn't get it done, but didn't play terrible, but didn't play good. Boys, how do we feel about, are you all jumping head first onto the Devin Duvernay train?
I actually drafted him as like just a late round guy to hang on to because of how thin they are at wide receiver. We talked about it in the offseason that you had Rashad Bateman and it was going to be either Devin Duvernay or James Proche. Well, this past weekend it was Devin Duvernay. He's got to throw it to someone. Mark Andrews didn't really get a lot done. Rashad Bateman even didn't get a whole lot done. So if you need a wide receiver, he might be a guy to go get.
Mark Andrews owners, don't panic. He did lead the team in targets. 5 for 52. It yields a 10-point fantasy output on a not too heavy of a passing day. Devin Duvernay got 2 bombs for the touchdown. I think, if those don't happen, Mark Andrews gets at least one of them. So yeah, don't panic, Mark Andrews owners. On both sides, I mean, Michael Carter, super efficient, heavily used in the passing game, he's the one that I was looking at the most because I know we have a lot of people asking about Breece Hall. Breece Hall was targeted 10 times. Michael Carter was targeted 9 times. I mean, they didn't seem like they wanted to rush the ball. I mean, a total of 17 rushes, and that's including Joe Flacco. Get out of there, rush. Does that happen again with Zach Wilson, or was that kind of like a Joe Flacco plan?
Old quarterback syndrome, bro. We've talked about this numerous times. It's just old quarterback syndrome. Joe Flacco's definitely one of the older guys in the league. He doesn't have it anymore. His bones are brittle and doesn't want to break, so he's just trying to get that
59 attempts. Joe Flacco, he's definitely icing the shoulder after that game. Beggs, what'd you see?
Yeah, the Jets were the most pressured team in the league in week 1, so Joe was just trying not to get hit. Although I think Michael Carter's the guy to own in the backfield, man. Again, my touches and targets are depending on catchability, but he outtouched Breece Hall 17-12 in this game. Super efficient with it. And he was good last year. Everybody was scared off of Michael Carter because of Breece Hall, but they forget he was rather decent when he had the opportunity last year. I don't want to pat myself on.
Garrett Wilson targeted more yards than
Garrett
Elijah
Wilson,
Moore.
I don't want to pat myself on the back about Mark Andrews yet. It's early. He did get a lot of targets. But against the Jets, man, I was expected to be a pretty good matchup. So I'm not ringing the alarm bells, but I'm curious to see how he bounces back. Garrett Wilson, man, super involved. But you know who had more targets than Garrett Wilson? Was Corey Davis. Waiver wire pickup possibility. Big-time targets. And you got to think the Jets are going to have to throw the ball quite a bit this year, man. Their defense, it held up in the first half, but it broke down pretty quick.
Flacco threw 59 times. So you're right. That could be a trend going forward here. Also, one other thing I have to add on it as well. If you were considering picking up Kenyon Drake because of this J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards jammy that's going down right now, where Gus Edwards is on the PUP list, not playing for 4 weeks. Dobbins was out. Kenyon Drake was awful. 11 for 31, no touchdowns. If he's on your waiver wire, leave that man where he lays.
Let him be.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of waiver wire pickups. Grab Kenyon. Why? He was terrible. Yep, yeah. I agree. Don't touch him. Let's move on to another game where we actually got some couple waiver wire spiciness. Jags dropping a game to the Commanders 22-28. Incredibly impressed with Carson Wentz. He's another guy that's criminally underrated. Dropped a game. He got his revenge against the Jags.
The revenge.
He got some revenge. He played great. We got a couple guys in here that I know we were kind of talking about off air in Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel not being rostered in a lot of leagues. Goni, I'll let you kind of speak on it because I know you singled out Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, man, this was, it was good to see. Curtis Samuel had the injury last year, and honestly, he had 11 targets and 4 carries. He was kind of brought in from the Panthers by Ron Rivera because he liked him as that kind of gadget, do-it-all guy, and he led the team in targets. He put up a touchdown, led the team in, receptions. He could be a good go-to option for the Commanders and Carson Wentz. Really, a lot of these guys kind of showed out, to be honest with you. No one went and exploded, but McLaurin did all right. Curtis Samuel was all right. Even Logan Thomas, who Beggs mentioned in his first game action back from his injury last year. Jahan Dotson, this one's a little tricky for me. Just, which one do you grab? You can't stash all of them. My bet, I'm going where the ball went, and it was Curtis Samuel. He's available in 94% of Yahoo leagues right now, so he's out there. That's who I would take personally going forward, and just seeing what you get out of him.
Yeah,
I think as long as Washington keeps throwing the ball as much as they are, I don't know that you can go wrong. I'm with you on Curtis Samuel. I mean, he did it before in Carolina. You saw how Ron Rivera used him. Caught a lot of screen passes, a lot of bubble passes. I mean, his average depth of target was only 1 yard. I like Dotson. I mean, he's kind of more of the home run hitter compared to Samuel, more of the downfield threat. But I don't think you can really go wrong. I'm okay with either one of them, to be honest with you. Sell Antonio Gibson high, right, gentlemen? We're selling him high right now.
If you're in a dynasty, get out of that man right now if you can, for whatever you can. If you're in a redraft, you have really no choice but to ride, and there's no reason not to ride, honestly.
Yeah, he was efficient on the ground. I mean, 4.1 yards per carry, and was targeted the second most out of anybody on the team, and had the most receiving yards. And that's what everybody wants from Antonio Gibson is that receiving work. 7 receptions for 72 yards. That's stellar. A big takeaway from this game for me is it was Travis Etienne on a serious snap count or what's going on, because Etienne was very efficient on the ground. 4 rushes for 47 yards, had two receptions to tack on 18. James Robinson was the workhorse on the ground, and James Robinson also looked very good. What's your all's takeaway on that one?
James Robinson, he might be the first modern medicine miracle to come back from an Achilles injury. But I'm not quite buying it yet. Etienne had a drop touchdown pass late in the first half, and he had a fumble. And I think that kind of reduced his touches in the second half. By my opportunity metric that I've got here, they were about even. I still like Etienne in the backfield, man. He's getting the passing work in a PPR league. Give me the pass catcher.
Yeah, and James Robinson, man, that's one of those things where I'm gonna need you to prove it to me. He had 2 touchdowns. One of them was a 3-yard reception. He went 11 for 66. So yeah, he was efficient. It's just I'm not sold. I'm not sold on it. I'm not going out and trading for him or anything like that. I doubt he's on anyone's waivers either. If he's on the waivers, I'd be willing to go and get him, but highly unlikely. Yeah, just prove it to me again.
And last comments on this game. Shout out to Travis Etienne losing to the Commanders, and Trevor Etienne, his little brother, running back for the Florida Gators, losing to my Kentucky Wildcats. So
the Cats.
Yep, go Cats. Etienne's big L's this weekend.
Goni, how did the Red Foxes do?
No comment.
Our next game, we had another sketchy one. Another game to the wire.
Revenge game.
Huh? We did have a revenge game. Revenge games did not go well.
No,
they went terrible this week. Browns beating the Panthers in Carolina 26-24. Not the prettiest game I've ever seen in my life. Jacoby Brissett 18 for 34. 4.3 yards per attempt. I mean, I think Amari Cooper did what we thought he was going to do. Not a whole lot. We faded him heavily, especially with the suspension being extended. Nick Chubb did exactly what we thought we'd do. Just incredibly efficient on the ground. He's that dude in standard scoring formats.
Yeah.
But is still doing good enough even without a touchdown to where he's still a viable option on in PPR formats. But just a stud on the ground. Kareem Hunt tacking on a touchdown and just being heavily utilized in the passing game. He had a rushing and a receiving touchdown. But I think the guy, and Begley, I'll let you take it over, the guy that we're thinking might be on the waiver wire that you want to pick it up.
Well, you guys know I like Donovan Peoples-Jones, man. One of the most targeted players across football with 11 targets week one. I think it's a little bit of a byproduct of Amari Cooper being not good. I mean, I call him the penny loafer for a reason, man. He just lollygags through routes. He's awful. It's horrible to watch. Donovan Peoples-Jones, when Watson comes back, he's always like that Will Fuller stretch to field kind of guy. Well, that's what Donovan Peoples-Jones is for Cleveland. So in deeper leagues, I'm taking a flyer on this cat, man. If nothing else, just for a late playoff push with Deshaun. Wayne, what about DJ Moore, man? A little bit disappointing in the PPR column.
He's going to be fine. Baker Mayfield looked terrible. 16 for 27.
Denzel Ward.
Did I say Denzel Ward? Oh, yeah, he was up against Denzel Ward. I thought you said I said Denzel Ward. I was like, when would I have said that?
No.
It's kind of the same thing. Christian McCaffrey didn't have that great of a game either. Are we panicking with CMC? No. Robbie Anderson. That's Robbie with an IE after he went and got his name changed in the offseason from a Y. Not sure why you did that, but I'm fading you solely because you did that. He's not going to lead the league in targets very often. That's going to be DJ Moore's thing. But that being said, do we want to talk about Robbie Anderson? I mean, is he on waiver wires?
Robbie Anderson to me going, and you tell me if you disagree, but this is your ultimate boom and bust, Deshaun Jackson kind of guy. I know he got the targets, but I just can't trust him week over week.
I mean,
he had a 75-yard touchdown catch.
Yeah.
Which buoyed his stats greatly.
So, I mean, it's like we said, 4 for 27 if you take away that outlier touchdown. It did happen, so we're going to go ahead and count it. He's been terrible like the last 2 years, and his main thing is like he just can't catch. The targets have always been there. I'd say if you're in a dynasty and for some reason he's out there, stash him. Don't go buy him. Just don't do it. He hasn't been good the last couple of years, but a redraft, I'm probably not going to waste, my waiver priority or my fab on him. One last thing though, as well, going back to the Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, how infuriating is it that Nick Chubb finished with 141 yards and a reception for 2 yards and got outscored fantasy-wise by Kareem Hunt, who had 46 and a tutty on the ground and 24 and a tutty through the air?
Man.
Infuriating if you're a Chubb owner.
It's infuriating because Nick Chubb gets him to the goal line, and then Nick Chubb should get the goal line run, but they always do some pansy little Kareem Hunt out route to the flat, and it never fails, dude. And I don't have Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb, but man, it was just hard to watch Nick Chubb work his way down the field just to have Kareem Hunt pull a Jamal Williams.
It's the passing back effect of a PPR league, man. You want the pass catcher for this exact reason. He was 4 for 24 in the air. Nick Chubb would have had to score a touchdown just to match that point output.
Hey, one waiver wire pickup that I might have, and it's probably one of the only times I'd ever say this. I'm not usually big on kickers in any way. I actually get into it with one of our good friends over kickers and how much they don't matter. But look into Cade York, the rookie for the Browns. He went 4 for 4 with a game-winning field goal in his debut, and the Browns look like a team that's going to be kicking a lot of field goals this year. It's just food for thought. Dynasty, redraft, wherever.
He was sweeping the grass with his huevos when he walked off the field after that one, man.
Absolutely, man. First game, 4 for 4, and then the game winner.
Next game we got, you've heard the age-old saying, tying is worse than kissing your sister. And boy, is it. We got a tie between the Colts and the Texans. Nobody called this. I don't care who you are out there. Colts should have absolutely blown them out of the water. But for all you JT owners, your number one pick did your number one pick things. You got the value out of them. Matt Ryan threw the ball 50 times, which is huge for all you Michael Pittman owners, who also got 9 receptions to the tune of 121 yards and a touchdown. I think we're going to see a lot of this throughout the year. I think Matt Ryan throwing the ball a lot, Jonathan Taylor, and it's like they just had the ball a lot, you know. Matt Ryan threw the ball 50 times, and JT rushed the ball 31 times. So just the opportunities are there for everyone to be successful in the Colts offense. Even on a low scoring, like when I look at this stat line, if I didn't know the final score, I would have thought that the Colts put up close to 40. So the fact that they're putting up 20, Jonathan Taylor can put up the numbers he put up, over 20 fantasy points. Michael Pittman put up 20. You know, it's. I think Paris Campbell came out as the number 2, even though it was a lot. I don't know. What do y'all think about the situation? I'm eager to hear you two Damian Pierce lovers speak on the situation.
But just a couple of quick thoughts from me before we get to Pierce. Is Kylan Granson seemed to be the tight end in Indy over Mo Alley Cox. He had 6 targets to Mo Alley's 2. Seems like Nyheim Hines was a pretty good bet. My part, 6 targets, 6 catches. Seemed to be pretty involved in the game early, not just game scripted. Might be a guy to watch on your waivers. We'll see, though. It's a little early. And let's collectively pat ourselves on the back. Let's tap our scapulas for Michael Pittman. We were on him as a wide receiver 1 to start the year. Good call, gentlemen.
Michael Pittman. Yeah, going into the Damian Pierce, it wasn't pretty by any means. Rex Burkhead didn't really muster too much more, but Damian Pierce finished with 11 carries for 33 yards. He also had a reception for 6 yards. And, you know, it's just there wasn't a whole lot of offense to go around as a whole. I mean, Brandon Cooks got his 7 for 82, no touchdowns. O.J. Howard, I mean, I can't really say 8. He had 2 receptions.
Come on, man. He's worth he's worth a peak on your waivers.
Ah, man.
He's worth a peak.
No.
Wayne says he's worth a peak. I'm not sold on it yet, man. When you score 2 touchdowns and only have 2 targets and 2 receptions,
then you're being looked at in the important part of the field.
Sure.
Davis Mills. We called this out preseason that he's one of those guys that never gets thought of as being a decent quarterback. And 23 for 37 for 240 and 2 touchdowns, no picks. 98, almost a 99 QBR. He did solid.
And he tied the Colts as the biggest dogs going into the week. So hats off to him for that. Really, they minus 8.5. You know, going into the game, the Colts were, and Davis Mills went in there and got a tie. So I mean, it's something.
Brandon Cooks, we called him the lockiest of locks as a wide receiver too. And by God, if 15 points isn't prime wide receiver 2 point output, I don't know what is.
Boys, we're tapping scapulas this
guys.
week.
Brandon Cooks owners, enjoy your 15 points week in and week out.
You know, one last thing about Damian Pierce. Don't give up on him yet, man. The Colts have an incredible defense, and they have an especially good run defense. PFF rated him as the number 1 run defense in the league this week. DeForest Buckner is a man. Don't give up on Damian Pierce.
All right, next game we got a real eye opener, surprising one. The Giants beating the Titans 21-20. The Giants, big cojones, Dayball, getting that touchdown for the score to be 20-19, and then going for the 2-point conversion. If I ever see a coach going for the 2-point conversion for the win, I'm always rooting for him to win. And in this case, he won. Danny Dimes, he had a pick, but super efficient. I mean, 17 for 21. Completion percentage was great. That's over 80% completion percentage. His pick was a boneheaded pick. I don't know if you all saw it. It was just a terrible pass. He eliminates that, and he had dare I say it, a good game. But obviously what everybody is thinking of on this one is Saquon Barkley absolutely going ham bone to the tune of 164 yards. Tutty, 6 receptions for 30 yards. Just an absolutely nutty stat line. Drum roll, please. That I don't think is going to hold up.
I don't know, man. Well, yeah, it's early. It's early to tell. This is absolutely one of the surprises for us all being down on Saquon this year. I know there was a lot of hype for him rolling in as a value pick in your drafts. And it's encouraging to see against the Titans. I'm not going to lie. Titans are a pretty good defense generally. So this is pretty nice to see for Saquon Barkley. I would have liked to have seen it the last couple of years when I had you on my fantasy team. It didn't happen. And, we'll wait and see how it goes. Derrick Henry, however, not so good.
Nope.
Not so good, man. 21 carries, 82 yards. It's not Derrick Henry-esque. It's nothing crazy. Traylon Burks, 3 for 55, not bad for the debut. Kyle Phillips, 6 for 66. Dontrell Hilliard, he seems to be a guy that is hot on the waivers right now in the early going, solely off of his 3 receptions, 61 yards, and 2 touchdowns. How do you guys feel about him?
I'm avoiding him like the plague. I'm gonna let everybody else spin their fab on him. I think he's he's a handcuff, but he's not worth what people are going to spend.
LeBron James.
I think with Derrick Henry, and Wayne, I'll let you speak to Dontrell here in a second. I don't have much to add on this game, but I think with Henry, I think what you're seeing is when teams stack the box, the Titans don't have the weapons on the outside right now to punish teams for loading the box. Tennessee saw the most loaded fronts of any team this week, to no surprise to anybody. And Burks and Phillips and Robert Woods couldn't make them pay for it.
Yeah, I think it was kind of weird because I watched a lot of this game. They didn't do a lot of play action. I mean, Derrick Henry, it's like when they're running the ball, which I know is the vast majority of the time. But Derrick Henry will he'll be 10 yards behind Daniel Jones just so he can be at full speed when he hits the line. And I feel like it's absolutely telegraphing their plays. They need to start doing more play action. Derrick Henry needs to go out to the second level and be a safety net for a dumb down. And yeah, I agree, Begley. They don't have a lot of speed on the outside, and that's what's causing the loaded boxes. But they got to do something else. And I think Vrabel's going to figure it out. I think they're going to learn a lot from the film session. Derrick Henry owners, I don't think you have anything to worry about. As far as Hilliard, I'm leaving him on the waivers. I'm not impressed. I don't think he's going to be. This is Derrick Henry's offense, and it's going to ring true throughout the entire season. So I mean, if you have a very weak bench, yeah, he's worth a stash. But I'm not going for him.
Yeah.
Next game, Vikings. Packers at Vikings. The Packers absolutely getting shut down, getting beat 7-23 in Minnesota. Aaron Rodgers not looking good at all. And Jordan Love getting some passing work there at the end. What'd y'all see in this game?
It was ugly. It was ugly to watch if you were Green Bay. And it was the polar opposite for the Vikings. Justin Jefferson got open at will. He was destroying since the coin toss and just looked like he absolutely roasted Jair Alexander, one of the better corners in the league, numerous times. It's just crazy the separation that he had, and Kirk Cousins found him repeatedly to the tune of 9 for 184 and 2 touchdowns.
Unbelievable.
Jefferson wanted to come out this year and establish his dominance as the best wide receiver in the game, and this is a phenomenal start. Dalvin Cook, Dalvin Cook, 20 for 90. That's not a bad stat line. He finished the game healthy. That's something you always look forward to as well. And just Green Bay couldn't get anything done at all. Dobbs was their leading receiver with 4 for 37 yards. A.J. Dillon really, he led the team in receiving with 5 for 46, but that is, it's ugly is what it is.
Yeah, I think they showed what we thought they would, right? They're going to lean on these running backs. But what surprised me was Dillon out-touching Aaron Jones. And LaFleur came out after the game and said he's got to get Aaron Jones more involved. We know Rodgers will figure this out, right? We're just going to relax here.
Yeah, let's look at week 1 of last year. He got absolutely demolished. It's Aaron Rodgers. He's a Hall of Famer. Discount double check. He'll get it together. Aaron Jones is kind of I don't know why A.J. Dillon got more rushes because Aaron Jones got half the rushes A.J. Dillon did and still logged more yards. He's the better running back. I think the film will show that, and they'll start utilizing him more. Plus, he's one of the few people that has the trust of Aaron Rodgers. I know we had a few drops, and there's nothing Aaron Rodgers hates more than a drop pass. But yeah, I think you all covered it all. Irv Smith, not logging a single point, 2 targets. I know some people were high on him. I wasn't. I was indifferent. I'm not going to say that I was fading him because I wasn't. Yeah, Adam Thielen coming out 3 for 36, nothing amazing. Justin Jefferson is going to dominate that offense. So, I mean, I don't really have hope for any other receivers on that team while Justin Jefferson's getting so much space.
Yeah, I still don't mind Adam Thielen, but it's Jetta's offense. You're right.
Next, we're going to go to a game where we got a couple guys that we want to talk about. I picked this game incorrectly. Shame on me. The Chiefs absolutely laying the smackdown on the Cardinals, 44-21. Patrick Mahomes absolutely going nuts, 360 yards and 5 touchdowns, 77% completion percentage. I mean, Travis Kelce out there trying to make me look stupid and fading him. Juju doing great. MVS doing okay. Goni, give me that CEH breakdown. How you feel about CEH?
I mean, it was okay. It was okay. He had one of the better finishes on the week for running backs. It came off of 7 carries for 42 yards, no touchdowns, and he got it in the receiving game, close to the goal line, or red zone rather. 3 for 32 and 2 touchdowns. This is a game where it was kind of just spread out a lot. I mean, Patrick Mahomes throwing for 5 touchdowns. Tyreek who? Yep. This is a game also that features a waiver wire pickup of the week for me personally. It's Isaiah Pacheco. He's someone I've been following since the preseason. He's grown in hype as we've gotten closer to the season, and he led the team in carries. He outsnapped. Well, he didn't outsnap. He outcarried Clyde Edwards-Helaire 12-7, outrushed him 62-42, and he got a rushing touchdown on the ground as well. So Jerick McKinnon got some play as well. I just like if CEH goes down, I think Pacheco could be very, very good, to be honest with you. And just the fact that he got more rushing work, even when he was healthy, looks good.
Pacheco's definitely worth a pickup in all leagues, but he did a lot of his work in garbage time when the game was pretty much already over with. This is a make or break year for CEH. So his back's against the wall, and he looked good. He looked really good. I think CEH and Saquon might be the best value in the draft, man. I mean, if you walk away with those 2 guys in your starting RB spots, you felt terrible after your draft. And in week 1, you probably dominated. What about Juju Smith-Schuster, gentlemen? I mean, he pretty good.
Everybody ate, man. Everybody. Patrick Mahomes set the table and laid out the helpings, and everybody ate. I mean, MVS 8.8 on your bench. You're happy about. I mean, Travis Kelce just went nuts, and yeah, Juju second the team in receiving. No touchdown, but still double-digit output, which is solid.
Yeah.
Let's pivot over to the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, a pretty good day, fantasy purposes. James Conner, not efficient on the ground in the least bit, but still racking up a tutty and 5 receptions for 29 yards. So he put up a decent fantasy. No, he didn't have it. Yeah, he had a rushing tutty. No receiving touchdowns. As far as fantasy goes, he was okay, but he didn't look good, like from just a football talent perspective.
The offense as a whole didn't look good. They're slow. They I don't know, man. They were very ineffective, to be honest with you. Hollywood salvaged a touchdown to have a good day. But just the passing offense as a whole, man, you don't want to see 193 yards out of Kyler Murray. That's not going to get it done, regardless of who you're playing, much less the Chiefs, who are dropping 44 on you. So they need to go back to the drawing board. They need something, man. Greg Dortch led the team in receiving, 7 for 63.
It wasn't Hollywood?
No,
it was not Hollywood.
Listen, I have to untap my scapulas here, man. Hollywood disappointed me. I mean, the whole Arizona offense was just atrocious.
Yeah.
But I mean, 6 targets. With Greg Dortch getting the love, maybe when Rondale Moore comes back, he might be the guy to play in the slot. We'll see. I think he's going to take Greg Dortch's minutes.
Yeah, and that brings us up to a divisional matchup, something that I thought was going to be a lot higher scoring. Raiders losing to the Chargers, 19-24. Devontae Adams being Devontae Adams, regardless of who's tossing him the rock. What'd y'all take from this game?
He was good. He was really good, man. Derek Carr, 295, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. It wasn't great. Josh Jacobs, 10 for 57. Darren Waller, actually, coming back, having a pretty solid game from last year. And going over to the Chargers side, Justin Herbert picked up right where he left off. The guy looks phenomenal. Keenan Allen, unfortunately, he was tearing it up in the beginning of the game, and he unfortunately went out with a hamstring. He's probably going to be out this week. They have a quick turnaround, a Thursday night game. Chances are he won't get there.
Which is a shame because that's going to be a nutty game.
Waiver wire pick. Yeah, they play the Chiefs, so it's going to be a banger for sure. Segue, waiver wire pickup, Josh Palmer. He won the number 3 job outright over Jalen Guyton over the offseason. The kid's got skills. He just hasn't been able to get on the field too much. If he gets slotted in as the number 2 behind Mike Williams in this high-powered offense, he could look very good. He's probably my second highest priority pickup behind Jeff Wilson this week. And then also, I mean, if you need a flyer or you're even just streaming tight ends, I mentioned him way early in the season. He would have cost you nothing. Tight end, Gerald Everett, 3 catches, 54 yards, got himself a touchdown as well. He's available in leagues everywhere for the streaming tight end guys out there.
Go buy yourself something really nice for calling Gerald Everett, man. That was
it's a long season. I can't take a victory lap on that one yet, but it feels good after week 1.
That was a great call, man. I agree with you on Josh Palmer. This guy's a must-get right now. I think he's absolutely going to replace Keenan. What happened to Mike Williams, though? I mean, three targets, very disappointing. Same with Hunter Renfrow. These are 2 guys you drafted, probably be a wide receiver too. Really let you down, and it's not like these secondaries are really high-powered. So pretty disappointed there. I'm also disappointed in Austin Eckler. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure what, if it was a game plan from the Raiders, but could get nothing going on the ground, and he had plenty of opportunity. Speaking of the Raiders backfield, we knew what that was going to be. I mean, this is a fade all year. You don't want any Raiders running back, in my opinion. Wayne, do you disagree?
No.
Is there any value here?
No, I'm not touching Josh Jacobs. Brandon Bolden taking a few. I mean, Josh Jacobs was efficient. But that's just Devontae Adams is in town. Darren Waller's one of the best tight ends in the league. Hunter Renfrow, one of the best 2s in the league. This is a passing offense. So yeah, I'm fading it all the way. Austin Eckler, I don't think people need to be too nervous about. He's never been a point guy off the ground. He's always been through the air. He got 4 targets, caught all 4 of his targets. There just wasn't a lot of points scored in this game. I mean, 24-19. I don't think anybody expected it. I think the over/under was over 50, and all of us took the over. I think he'll be okay. He just needs to be a little bit more involved in the passing game. I don't think we see Gerald Everett or DeAndre Carter getting the same amount of targets that Austin Eckler gets on a regular basis. I don't think we're too worried about that. Mike Williams is going to come up, but he just Justin Herbert just spread the ball out a lot this game.
Yeah, I repeatedly found myself yelling at the TV as to why Sony Michel is in the game. 7 carries is 7 carries too many for Sony Michel. He went 7 for 12 yards, an average of 1.7. This guy's washed. He's not good. I don't know why they signed him, even less of why they decided to put him on the field. He's just not good, man.
Yeah, it was just the week 1 spread, just spreading it out, spreading the love. They're going to dial it in. They're going to get their guys the ball more often because that's how you win games. You put the ball in your best player's hands, and that's that's not Sony Michel and DeAndre Poop Turds, whatever his name is. All right, and moving on to the Sunday night football game, the easiest game to have ever been played, the most one-sided game to ever be played.
The most boring game to ever be played.
The absolutely dominant Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the terrible, garbage, proverbial dumpster fire of the NFL, Dallas Cowboys. It's one of those games that you knew the outcome before it started. I mean, I don't think a lot of people were going to think the Cowboys would only drop 3. But, I mean, they suck pretty bad. Begley, you got anything you want to talk about with your terrible, terrible, terrible garbage Dallas Cowboys? Anything?
No, I didn't realize we played this week.
They really didn't.
No, man. Listen, put the stats away for a second. How atrocious was that?
It was terrible to watch. It was just boring in general. It was awful all around. It was nothing like the game last year. Same result as we said. Well, 2 out of 3 of us at least. And Leonard Fournette had his way on the ground.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Who saw that coming? Who saw old playoff Lenny bringing it to the regular season opener, absolutely shredding that defense, old Swiss cheese defense. Ain't nobody worried about that D. Mike Evans put up good numbers, 18, pretty solid. Julio Jones showing signs of his old self with a few downfield catches. Didn't have great of a fantasy day, but I mean, if you picked him up, you probably didn't start him, and he got double-digit points. Well, close to double-digit points on your bench. Not a lot of fantasy greatness here. Chris Godwin going out hurt. He really wasn't supposed to play this game, and the play he went out on didn't look bad. I think it's just kind of a hamstring strain. Right, Goni? I believe that's what it was.
Yeah, it was a hammy. It was a hammy. They're usually tricky though, man. Hopefully he gets a quick recovery back and it's not a lingering issue we have to deal with from week to week basis.
Yeah, just not a lot of fantasy greatness in this game whatsoever. Dak Prescott, terrible game. He's a terrible quarterback on a terrible team. Zeke, not a good game.
CeeDee Lamb.
Terrible game. The thing is, dude, CeeDee Lamb was targeted 11 times. I mean, stone hands. I mean, half of those were terrible passes. But he had a few drops too that looked ugly. Dalton Schultz, he did pretty good. And I mean, all in all, he put up, 13 points. Pretty solid performance for a tight end. Outside of Lenny, Dalton Schultz, and Mike Evans, you really didn't get a lot of play, a lot of fantasy greatness out of this matchup at all. Zeke owners. People that got Zeke got great value for him. Don't panic. He's going to be okay. I think they were going to rely more heavily on the run with Cooper Rush out there as the quarterback. CeeDee Lamb's going to be okay. The way Dak Prescott played, I mean, Cooper Rush could be an upgrade from the way Dak played.
Man, I don't know if CD is a good long-term play this year, man. I mean, I think Amari Cooper did a little more than what we realized, just in terms of having somewhat of a threat on the boundary, man. I mean, CD's a slot guy. That's where he's great. But Tampa just clogged the middle of the field, and he couldn't operate.
For those that didn't watch the game and for some reason hadn't heard about it, Wayne's referring to Dak Prescott injuring his hand. Going to need surgery. It's on the thumb, I believe on his throwing hand, and he's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. Ergo, Cooper Rush coming in, and he will captain the team for the next 6 to 8 weeks, and it's not going to be looking any better for Dallas Cowboys fans, or really CeeDee Lamb owners for sure. I think we were all kind of looking at CeeDee Lamb to finally make the breakout this year, and it's a little bit frustrating because now excuses are going to be made at the end of the season. Next year, we're going to go into the draft again, and the renewed confidence and hope of him being a wide receiver 1 are going to be there.
Man.
Oh, last year he didn't have Dak Prescott. I can already hear it, but I don't know if he's that guy. He might be that guy. Dak was awful before he went out, but I don't know. What do you think, boys?
I hate to disagree with you here, but if he has more games like he had with this opener where he's dropping 3-4 balls a game, I think that's when CeeDee Lamb's value starts to drop off, is when he's lacking the receiving part of his job. He had some bad drops. And if that continues to be a consistent thing for him throughout the year, especially with somebody like Cooper Rush, where like you have to make the good passes into something, and if he's dropping them, I think his value is going to drop tremendously in the offseason. But again, week 1, Cooper Rush, Begley, if you want to jump in, Cooper Rush had to start a game last season, right?
Yeah, it was a Sunday night game. I can't remember exactly who it was against, but it was a pretty good team, man. And he played really well. It wouldn't surprise me if he's competitive, and keeps Dallas, right in that 500 range all year, honestly. But the formula for Dallas is going to be more Zeke Elliott, more Tony Pollard. I mean, the weapons just aren't there.
Michael Gallup helps CD when he comes back, though, because that's your outside guy. CeeDee Lamb got jammed up by Antoine Winfield. I mean, they moved a safety in to cover CeeDee Lamb, and he's a lot bigger than CD. He's fast, and I think that was like the thing that really clogged him up is Winfield being on man-to-man coverage on him almost all night.
I'm not saying by any means sit your CeeDee Lambs or press the panic button just yet, but I expect, and everyone should expect, to temper their expectations with the upcoming weeks here out of Cooper Rush. That's all.
Press the panic button. Goni, what'll happen? We'll hire Sean Payton next year, and that'll get CD in the first round.
It'll get CD in the first round, and I'm sure you'll be a favorite to win the Super Bowl again, man. It's the Cowboys' way.
Yeah, every year is their year, except at the end of the year when it's never their year. All right, moving on to the Monday Night Football game. A big old surprise. This week was full of surprises as far as final outcomes of the game. The Broncos dropping it in Seattle, 16-17. Russell Wilson putting up a good amount of yards, only 1 touchdown. Geno Smith looking good.
Looking great. Hey, DK Metcalf got quite a bit of targets. He might not be quite the sell that we all thought he was. I mean, he did.
He got the targets. The thing is, he caught every last one of his targets to the tune of 10 points.
Yeah. Not a lot of downfield passing.
No downfield passing.
No. And I think that's what Geno's going to give you, man. I think he's going to have to do his work, on the yards after the catch. But Goni and I smelled this one, man. It smelled like a trap.
Trap game.
That being said, you got Will Dissly and Parkinson taking 2 touchdowns. I think it's fair to say that DK will snag one of those. So you drafted him high. If he snags one of those, you're looking at a 17-point performance out of him. You're pretty happy with that, and I think mid-teens, 15 out of DK, you're pretty happy. If Geno can keep playing the way he played this game against a pretty good Broncos defense, then he's looking to be okay. Rashad Penny looked pretty good. 12 for 60, not a lot of fantasy relevance. You're not looking. I think he had 8 fantasy points, 8 and change. So not a lot out of the backfield of Seattle, which is what we've all said from the get-go. Goni, tell me what you felt about the Broncos backfield.
Dude, it's not something you're going to see every week. The split was 12 carries to Melvin Gordon, 7 to Javonte Williams, but Javonte absolutely PPR'd people to death. 11 receptions, 65 yards. Crushed it. I don't expect that every week, but seeing that out of him, Gordon got 2 targets to Javante's 12. So hopefully he is Russell Wilson's preferred passing back option going forward. And it's just huge bump, honestly, if you're in a PPR, half PPR format.
Javante also a pretty stellar stat, losing a fumble off a reception and a run. So that was pretty cool of him. I don't think it's anything. This is their running back of the future, so I don't think it's going to scare him off any of his volume. But yeah, that was kind of crazy. Is that the 1A 1B backfield as far as rushing attempts go was heavily in favor of Melvin Gordon. That being said, Javante Williams was more efficient.
Yeah.
I think Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton owners were very nervous in the first half. But they really picked up in the second half. Tied in targets, tied in receptions. Jerry Jeudy obviously breaking off that big touchdown reception, though, was the big difference.
I think Denver's going to get better as the year goes on. I think Wilson's going to build a little better rapport. And hopefully Denver's going to let Javonte eat, man. I don't know why are they being so cautious?
Got to let Russ cook, man. It was a revenge game. All the revenge games failed. No one exacted revenge upon anyone this week.
Well, I feel like it was a revenge game for the Seahawks.
Yeah, they played
if you want to turn that table, sure.
Did you see the signs that they put on the chairs? It was
I saw a couple here.
12 was greater than 3. It was a revenge game for them.
Yep.
The 12th man came out on top in this one. That being said, Russ played good. I mean, 101 QBR. He just had 29 completions for 340 yards. That's pretty solid. He had a 69% completion percentage. He played good. It's just this was an ugly game. Like Melvin Gordon lost a fumble. Javante Williams lost 2 fumbles.
One of them on the goal line.
Yeah, one of them literally in the end zone. I mean, it was just an ugly game that if they held onto the ball, could have easily gone the Broncos' way. I think the Seahawks only had 1 turnover when DK Metcalf got stripped. But yeah, that being said, I think we all agree that the Broncos are going to be a lot better throughout the year. Is Melvin Gordon starting in a lot of lineups? And if he isn't, would you start slotting him in there?
I think he's got flex appeal in the right matchup. Absolutely. He's on the field enough to be fantasy relevant. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's all about the matchup to me, though. I don't know that I'm playing him against the Chargers. In a game where the game script's going to be Denver throwing the ball. Seems like Javanta's the passing guys getting on the passing work.
12 targets. That's insane.
Yeah, that's wild.
Alberto, I mean, not much out of Alberto or any Noah Fant owners. Will Dissly led the Seahawks in receiving, so sorry to all you Noah Fant owners out there. Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see that change. Even Colby Parkinson got it. So they got the Seahawks are using every tight end on the depth chart, and Noah Fant was last in the stats out of all of them. Sorry, Tyler Lockett's doing what we thought Tyler Lockett would do. He 3 receptions for 28 yards, and 2 weeks from now he'll drop a 30-point fantasy game, and then a couple weeks of 5-point games. So just but this was the last game, first week. A lot of crazy games, a lot of weird outcomes that we wouldn't have guessed. Our parlay was dead in the water before it even started with all the crazy, and we took money lines. Baker, I hate you. You ruined my individual stat parlay. I just needed 3 more rush yards out of you, so you're forever dead to me. Boys, week 1 in the books.
Who really quick before we close it up? Who's your all surprise team, fantasy wise? Tell me your week 1 surprise.
Fantasy wise,
yeah. Who really surprised you? I'll go first. I think it's Atlanta. I think Kyle Pitts is going to have value this year, but Drake London looked really good against in a really bad matchup, and so did Cordell Patterson. 3 Falcons, fantasy relevant. Who would have thought? And Mariota was good.
I'll go with the Commanders, man. They had several receivers look good. Antonio Gibson looked like Antonio Gibson of old. Logan Thomas added some value, and Carson Wentz played. He had 2 picks, but he also had 4 touchdowns. So I'd go with the Commanders, a team that we thought was just going to be an offensive dumpster fire outside of Terry McLaurin. Turned out to
he was the worst one on the whole.
Several good fantasy performances.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I was really, we were all pretty high on Jalen Hurts this year, but for them to put up 38, I know it was against the Lions. My man had 0 passing touchdowns. They did it with the run game. They ate through the air as well. A.J. Brown is everything they hoped for when they traded for him and paid him that big money. If the offense keeps rolling like this, man, they're going to be phenomenal this year.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch them, see them play Dallas, see what happens.
All right, we will be doing next week's preview, taking the 1:00 games, posting that preview Thursday. We'll be posting that, so stay tuned. Best of luck to all you all in your waiver wire pickups. Hope you all get your guys.
You want to give them a quick recap?
Huh?
Yeah.
Quick recap?
A waiver wire recap?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think our consensus number 1 is Jeff Wilson. The Elijah Mitchell injury makes him number 1. Who did we have as 2? Curtis Samuel?
Curtis
Samuel going nuts for the Commanders. Carson Wentz just looking pretty good out there to really buoy him. And we kind of we wanted to say Jahan Dotson, but he's just so touchdown dependent. If he didn't get those 2 lucky ones, he drops out. Goni, who else do we have?
We got Josh Palmer at number 3 with Keenan Allen slated to more than likely miss this game on Thursday. He'll slot into the number 2 spot. Gerald Everett, if you're a tight end streamer, and then really, really just flyer stash just in case kind of thing if you have a roster spot. I recommend Jordan Mason as well for the 49ers, undrafted rookie running back.
Pacheco.
Isaiah Pacheco, if he's out there. If you can find him anywhere, you can probably get him in redrafts. But
yeah, he'll probably only be in redraft. But yeah, Pacheco for that. I think that's our main ones. We had a few late flyers, but I'd rather see what happens.
And if Darrell Henderson's out there for whatever reason, grab him.
Yeah, take a look. He might be there.
Don't let him be out there.
Yep. So that is it. Week 1 in the books. We will see you all for the Week 2 preview. Hand surgeons for MVP.